I'm building a new print-on-demand brand with the goal of getting it to $500,000 in revenue and $50,000 profit by the end of this year. Now, I've been in the print-on-demand game for almost a decade, both as a seven-figure merchant, a coach, and now the CEO of Shine On. I have probably seen more validated winning print-on-demand products than anybody else on the planet, or at least I'm in the top, 1/10 of 1% of people. And having seen everybody's success and being a former merchant myself, I am just super hungry to jump back into the arena and build my own brand. But I want to do things a little bit differently, and this may not work. I mean, this whole thing might crash and burn, which is a little bit intimidating because I'm sharing this publicly and in the open with you all. I've got some real stakes on the line as the CEO of Shine On, a coach, and a merchant. But failure is part of the entrepreneurial journey. And look, frankly, I just can't help myself. I've got to jump back into this and have some fun. So I'm going to explain to you some of the, twists I'm going to bring to the table and like how I'm going to do some things differently. Before I do though, I do want to highlight one thing. Even though I'm the CEO of Shine On and I've got a ton of, experience and exposure to what has worked over the last 5 years in print on demand, I will be forcing myself to go through all of the same steps that every other merchant goes through when they create their products. I will not be, looking at Shine On data or anything like that, or looking at designs that are working to create my own designs. I will not do that. I will never do that. This is a personal integrity thing for me. Instead, I will go to the market. I will do product research like everybody else, using spy tools and Etsy and looking on Pinterest and the things that I teach my students to do. And then based on that research, I'll go and create my own designs. Beyond just, my own personal integrity, preventing me from doing that, there's this whole secondary thing, which is that typically copycats aren't that successful. Whoever finds a winning product, all the algorithms start to favor them. When the copycats come in, they're really just getting table scraps. So it's not really that effective of a method anyways. So if you're new and that's what you were thinking of doing, I'd encourage you not to do that. All right, so what are some things that I'm going to do differently? Well, number one, I'm going to try to make this whole brand as AI driven as possible. This is an advantage we have in 2025 that we haven't had in previous years. We now have all these AI tools at our fingertips that we can use to leverage and be a lot more effective. And look, just for clarity, I don't mean that I'm going to automate everything about the brand, but I am going to use AI to help scale creativity, decision making, and I'm sure I'm going to use it in some other areas as well. So the second thing that I'm going to do that's a little bit differently is I've got a pretty unique brand angle that I've not really seen used in the space. So this might crash and burn. I really am kind of taking a risk by sharing all of this publicly. This particular angle, it's going to be in the message card gifting space. It's going to be in jewelry and acrylic and things like that. I'm definitely going to be focused on giftables around the holidays, but I have found a target demographic and an avatar that I'm going to build this entire brand around. And if I'm successful, the entire brand is going to be optimized for LTV over that front-end customer acquisition cost. We'll see what happens, but that is the plan on this particular brand. And then the last thing is I've got this whole, kind of methodology I'm working on where I'm going to build this brand my way. So what I mean by that is you kind of have this old way of doing things in print on demand, this traditional way. And there are a bunch of kind of variations to that I want to experiment with and see if it works. So one of the things you do in the old way is you guess products. So this is where you just test, and you throw a ton of stuff at the wall to see what sticks. In kind of the new way that I'm going to test, I'm going to stick to what are the, 10 winning phrases that I have seen work over the last 10 years. So in all of my research, it kind of seems like the same, 10% of phrases drive 90% of the sales year over year for the last 5 years. I'm going to try to stick to the 10 winning phrases that I've seen drive most of the sales. The other thing is the whole market is trending towards video ads. And I'm going to try to stay image heavy. And the reason is you can scale so much faster with the image ads. The lift is much less. And look, again, this is an experiment. I'm going to follow the market on this. So I'm going to try to lean heavy into image ads. But if that doesn't work, obviously, I'm going to go to what works. So another thing is there are always large testing budgets. And I'm going to be trying to stick to low budget methods. Now, there are a few of these out there that tend to work pretty well. So Chris Blair's got a great $5 filter method that I'm probably going to use. And then Mario Menduni has also pioneered some low budget methods that I'm probably going to test as well. And then obviously, I kind of get creative when I do things, and I'll probably try some of my own stuff. So next, a lot of people will chase trends. And I don't really plan to do that. I'm going to try to stick to evergreen niches that I've seen work. Specifically, I'm going to stick to the to my wife and to my daughter niches because they seem to work year round and are kind of perennial. So I'm not going to be chasing trends or anything like that. I'm really trying to make this as simple as I possibly can. And then finally, a lot of print on demand brands, they optimize for CAC. So this is that front end acquisition cost. So they're trying to acquire a customer profitably. I'm going to try to optimize for LTV. Now, I need to acquire the customer profitably too. I'm not going to burn thousands and thousands of dollars here. But that is one way that this brand is going to be different. So let's just, kind of recap this real quick. So the old way is you guess products, and the new way is I'm going with 10 winning phrases. In the old way, you used lots of video ads. I'm going to try to stick to image ads and just keep this super simple. In the old way, you have large testing budgets. I'm going to try to stick to low budget testing methods. The old way, you chase trends and you try to see what's working right now and you jump on it, and you try to catch that bell curve on the way up. Instead, I'm going to try to stick to things that are evergreen and that I've seen work over the last 5 years consistently. And then finally, the old way, you optimize for CAC. In this new way, I'm going to try to optimize for LTV. Obviously, what's going to help me there is that unique brand angle that I told you I'm going to bring to the table. So look, I really don't know if this is going to work. This whole thing might fail. And I seriously have a ton of stake on the line because I was a former merchant, a coach, and the CEO of Shine On. I've got a lot of stuff packed up in here, and I'm super excited to jump back in the arena. That said, I'm using a pretty unconventional approach to this new store, and it really might not work. If it works, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to have a ton of things to teach you all, and we're going to have a whole new kind of way to build these stores, which could be really exciting and really successful. And then finally, I'm just going to have to follow the market. I want to do what works. So, I've got a bunch of ideas here, but if at any point these stop working for me, of course, I'm going to follow the market and go where the money flows, if that makes sense. So if you want to follow my progress, where I'm going to be sharing the AI tools, the AI processes that I'm using to build this brand, and I share kind of regular updates on how I'm doing, please hit the link in the description below. All right, make sure you subscribe, do all that fancy stuff. Catch you in the next one.